Caleb, what's your biggest gripe with Rick Barnes? Is it that he is too hard on his players and they tend to wilt, or is it X's and O's in the NCAA tournament where he's tended to wilt?
It's not X's and O's. It's yeah, I think it's his grinding. I think he grinds really, really, really hard. He doesn't treat the basketball season as a marathon. He treats every game as a sprint. So but Timothy, I get your point. I guess you're talking about the Lady Vols. I'm not knocking the ugly win. I understand why it was an ugly win, but it was an ugly win. Like, I mean, that doesn't change the fact that it was an ugly win.
Yeah. Barnes, to me, is too far down the road to ever change his mind, right? He's 70, 71 years old.
Yeah. Okay, do you know the Vince Vaughn cameo in Rudy?
Yes.
Where he's like,
wasn't really a cameo. He was just another
actor. Vince Vaughn's like, last practice of the season, and this a-hole's treating it like it's the effing Super Bowl. And then the coach, I guess, which Asa Parzican at the time was like, you just summed up your whole career. If you had half the heart Rudy did. Yeah, praising Rudy for playing every play like the Super Bowl. Now, realistically, you shouldn't take every practice like the Super Bowl, right? That's going to literally drain you. Rick Barnes wants you to take every single play like it's the final shot of the game. And
yeah, if you're out there doing that stuff on a Friday afternoon walkthrough, somebody's going to knock that ever-living fire out of you.
Yeah. Yeah, and Rick Barnes expects his players to do that. Now, it's also a principle. Here's the thing with Rick Barnes. He's very much, and I'm going to give you two names, Dave. He's the basketball version of Mark Richt and David Cutcliffe, which is Rick Barnes prioritizes developing his players over anything else, developing them as people. And I mean developing them as basketball players. So that's why you see them do so well in the NBA a lot of times. It's particularly the 3-year guys. I mean, a guy like Grant Williams never should have been an NBA player, but Rick Barnes developed him and he became one because of Rick Barnes' coaching. So
now somebody put in there in our message board, I couldn't find it, but supposedly Grant Williams has said publicly that Rick Barnes is too hard on his players.
Oh, Rick Williams has told the story a couple of times actually about how Rick Barnes, this was a couple years ago, has just like ran the hell out of them in practice sometimes. So yeah, I've heard those stories before. And also he basically kind of maybe all but weight shamed Admiral Schofield, but not really. He was just saying you got to trim way down if you're going to play in this system.
Yes, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com, as we broadcast from Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios. Other than Grant, who do you think that Barnes has done the greatest job with while at Tennessee? I don't think there's a close second.
No, I don't think.
I guess you could say Dalton Connect, but that was more about talent to me last year.
Yeah, Dalton buying in helped a lot. If I'm going to say, what's funny is before he bolted like a child, I would have said Jonas Adu was going to be his greatest development story. But without Jonas Adu, we're going to talk about him in a second when we talk about this, but we could maybe say Zakai Zeigler, interestingly enough. But other than Grant Williams,
the high energy guy, Jim Rat.
I'll say it, Admiral Schofield. He did an amazing job with Admiral Schofield. That guy should.
Grant?
No, you said other than Grant.
Okay.
Yeah, Admiral Schofield's my guy, who's also on that same team.
Why wouldn't you go Zakai Zeigler?
I think for Zakai Zeigler, it's just how Zakai Zeigler plays. I think Zakai Zeigler literally plays in Rick Barnes' image, which is we talk about going hard. Zakai Zeigler is Rudy. Okay, he goes 110% every single play.
Yep, David said Zakai is second. I agree with that. Instead of Schofield, I'm going to go with Zakai. Now, David also says, we went out and beat Bama. We deserve a number 1 seed. Do you agree? What are you hearing in terms of seeding?
Yes, I do. I don't know if that's possible, but I do. Let's dive in and talk about the Texas A&M game over the weekend.
Okay.
And what happened. So for the Tennessee got their biggest win over the weekend by beating Texas A&M, who was number 7. They beat them 77-69 on the road. 2 big takeaways from this game. One, we got to give Chaz Lanier some credit, Dave. He came through in the clutch. He dropped 30 points, like I said, and on the road, Texas A&M ties it up at 57 with 5 minutes to go. Chaz Lanier hits a key 3 close to the 4-minute mark to build it to 60-57. But then what happens? You ready for this? At 60 to 50, Texas A&M then cuts it to 60 to 59. Zakai Zeigler is then in on the next 13 points Tennessee scores in the final 3 minutes. So he dishes 2 passes to Jordan Gainey, who hits 2 threes. He makes 4 free throws, and then with Texas A&M making it close, late with 21 seconds left, Zakai Zeigler hits an incredible 3 that ices the game with 21 seconds to give them a 71-69 lead. I gotta show you the shot again. I'm sure we all saw it, but like, this is a Chris Lofton type of shot. I mean, just look at this. Look at this dagger that he throws. I mean, this is. Tell me this isn't shades of Chris Lofton right here.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Like
Winthrop shot falling out of bounds.
Yeah. I mean, and it leads me to believe, even though Chaz Lanier came through in the clutch, let's be honest. Zakai Zeigler finished with 16 points, by the way. Rick Barnes turns to Zakai Zeigler in crunch time more than anybody else. He wants Zakai Zeigler to take over the game.
No, he did in that Mississippi State game that I went to. Was it Mississippi State?
Yeah, Mississippi State.
Hit a clutch 3.
He called Zakai Zeigler for the game tying 3 at Auburn.
So where is Zakai Zeigler a most important players on this team? Is he number 1? Because then I'm gonna ask you a follow-up.
I think just for scoring purposes, Chaz Lanier is still number 1. I mean, there's still the 38 minutes of a game. It's just Zakai for the last 2 minutes.
Okay. I think Zeigler's the most important player, but I don't think he's anywhere close to being one of the top talents on the team. So is that what Tennessee fans should expect, to get an overachiever via Rick Barnes? Now, David says, and I want to address this, ZZ was criminally underrated, under-recruited. Remember, Kennedy Chandler was the golden boy recruit in his class. Well, he was. I remember everybody went crazy about Kennedy Chandler. What's he doing nowadays?
Well, he shouldn't have left early for the NBA. He's in the G League right now, and he needed to stay another year to develop under Barnes. He's your classic 5-star that left too early, the one and dones. I think 5-stars really underrate the value of playing a couple of years under a guy like Rick Barnes, who can really develop you for the NBA if you stay another year. And I think that Kennedy Chandler made that mistake, but I understand it. You got to go get your money, and sometimes you make that mistake. But yeah, Zakai was criminally underrated, and people preferred him to Kennedy Chandler during that year. I mean, look, Zakai Zeigler is, none of us are here to bash him. I mean, he is an overachiever. I mean, he goes 130. I mean, I don't even want to say 110. He goes 150% every time. He is like the anti-player from Jerry Green teams, honestly.
So Tennessee has 4 games remaining. Tuesday night, it'll be LSU, and then Saturday, it'll be Alabama, as obviously Alabama's pretty darn good. Ole Miss, number 5, Ole Miss March the 5th, South Carolina March the 8th, and then comes the SEC tournament where Caleb's going to tell everybody to lay down.
Yes, their goal should be to win 3 of 4. I think they can get Alabama.
The final games, not the SEC tournament games. You think they should just lay down in that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, just lay down the SEC tournament. It's not gonna. No, here's what I mean. Do what you did last year. You don't have to throw the game, but just jack a bunch of threes. And if they go in and you advance, they go in. But don't try to run your offense and exert energy doing that. Just shoot threes the whole game. Just jack threes, jack 50 threes up, and call it a day.
Derek says ZZ the best true point guard ever at Tennessee. I'd say so. I got to go Tony the Wizard White, but Derek, I think I'm a little bit older than you.
Well, okay, true. Okay, Zakai Zeigler, he's the hardest true point guard to me was CJ Watson. That was the most true point guard I think I've ever seen play at Tennessee. And if CJ Watson didn't have to labor under Buzz Peterson for 3 years,
he hated that dude.
Oh, his family hated that dude. I actually met his uncle at a Grizzly game one time when he was playing for Golden State, and they were like, they did not. Buzz tried to force so much on CJ Watson that wasn't in his nature. That, I mean, nobody benefited more from Bruce Pearl than CJ Watson that 1 year he got to play under Bruce Pearl.
Oh, I think CJ would have been set up for tremendous success had he played under Pearl a little bit longer. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Like a blast from the past, the Super Dealer is back. Look to the skies, Knoxville. The Super Dealer is fighting for price, service, and the American-made. Ted Russell Ford is your Super Dealer, just in time for Truck Month. Save up to $5,350 on this new Ford F-150 XLT Hybrid, or save up to $7,000 on this new Ford Expedition. Come see the Super Dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford.
All right, Caleb, let me ask you this. Zakai Zeigler, where would he rank among top point guards in Tennessee basketball history? I'm going to put him above Tony Harris because Tony never could figure out if he was a 1 or a 2, and Jerry Green couldn't help him. And then I'm going to say the one that I've seen, the 2 actually, would be CJ number 1. I don't know. I might have Tony White number 1 just because I remember watching him. He was my favorite player.
I thought he was a scoring guard. Was he a point guard?
He had the ball a lot. So I probably a little bit the same with Tony Harris, probably a little in between.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like, I mean, I know Ernie Grunfeld was a point forward. He technically didn't play point guard. But kind of the offense ran through him when Bernard King was the star during those times. It was kind of like he played the Scottie Pippen role, I think, a lot of times where he would distribute. So I can't really go with him. I mean, I think you're right. I think CJ definitely is on that list. We're talking.
I got 1, 2, 3, 4 beers. Puts it out there. How often does a 5'9" guy win Defensive Player of the Year? So I'll ask you that. What would you rather happen? Zakai win Defensive Player of the Year or Tennessee get a 1 seed? Because Caleb's made the suggestion that Tennessee should get a 2 seed. And let's throw that out there because I think some people would root for Zakai getting a little bit of love from the coaches' media.
Okay, but I'm not saying they'd rather get a 2 seed. I said the location is more important than the seeding. And David Speaks says that Johnny Darden was number 1 in assist. But David Darden was passing the ball to Bernard King and Ernie Grunfeld. I could have been number 1 in assist, honestly. Yeah. So I don't think there was much talent in that, quite honestly. I mean, I think Zakai, my biggest hope for Zakai, and I don't think it's going to happen, and I hate that it's not going to happen, but like, has there ever been a player you would root for to get an NBA contract more than Zakai Zeigler, even though he's not going to get one?
It's not even within 6 inches.
No, it's not.
I mean, he's 5'9", like a legit 5'9",
and he's not quick enough at 5'9" either. He's quick for the SEC. Like, if you're 5'9" in the NBA, you got to be like really, 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 really quick.
Who was the guy that his name was Pee Wee? He played basketball. Do you remember him? No, he played football. He played football for Tennessee, and it was weird because his name was Pee Wee. Accurately so, he was about 5'8", 5'9". And he was dating Michelle Snow, who was like 6'7".
Pee Wee Gash?
I think so, yeah. But
Yeah, he played basketball,
that was an odd-looking couple to be together because one was literally the man was below Michelle Snow's waist. It was like a circus. I mean, it's just very odd, the difference in height.
I mean, if Candace Parker ever wanted to give me a call, I'd probably be below her waist, but I wouldn't care. But